Well, hello there, everybody, as you all come in, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sally Cathcart, and I am one of the directors and co-founder of the Curious Piano Teachers, and we are delighted, absolutely thrilled today to be working in partnership with the London College of Music, and I'll come back to that in a moment and tell you a little bit more. And I can see lots and lots of you are joining. This is a webinar, so we can't see you, you can see us. The way you communicate with us all is via the chat, so you could just give us a little sort of hello and where are you calling from. We'd love to hear that. And I think if you're joining us, you're probably still on your holidays, which is good news, but not out there on the beach. Well, maybe somebody is, who knows. If you've got any questions during the course of the webinar, please use the Q&A, which you'll find on your computer in the settings at the bottom. Slightly different from the chat. The chat is where we can have little conversations. Q&A for specific questions that you might have. And I can see we've got some people already coming in. And we've got some people coming in from Egypt. Hello, welcome, welcome. That's very exciting. So I think without further ado, I'm just going to get on. We've got a lot to get through, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what you can expect in today's webinar. And this is the first webinar of three that I'm going to be presenting along with Karen Marshall, who I will introduce to you in a moment. And today we're going to be looking at the LCME Popular Piano Pieces grades 1 to 3, and these have been selected specially because they're guaranteed to motivate our students, and we all need that, don't we? Especially here in the UK, where term is about to start, and we really want to get our students absolutely hot off the press. Yay! Here we go, into that new school year. So I have been joined by Rachel Kilby. Hello there, Rachel. Lovely to have you. And Rachel is from LCME Piano Exams, and she's going to be telling us a little bit more about those in a moment. And then, as I say, I'm also joined by the most wonderful Karen Marshall, who has been an advisor with LCME, helping to put together the latest piano syllabus, and in particular, I think, the popular piano repertoire list. And I'm really excited to be doing this because I have nothing to do with any of it. So it's like a treasure trove as far as I'm concerned. There's lots of stuff in there I love, things that are actually a little bit new to me as well. So I've got really excited about that. So I'm just going to come off before we get on to that bit. I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to hand over to Rachel, if I can get and stop my share because it doesn't want to know about it at the moment. And Rachel, over to you while I get myself off this.
Thank you, Sally. Well, it's really lovely to be here with you this afternoon, and thank you for giving up an hour of your time to join us to explore a little bit more about the popular piano syllabus element to the new LCME piano syllabus that was launched in March. So some of you may be familiar with LCME already. We're obviously one of the 3 or 4 main exam boards, whichever way, 4 probably, isn't it, that you might be familiar with. We're not new. That's a question I often get. Are you a new exam board? We most definitely are not. We're going to celebrate our 140th anniversary next year. So definitely been around for quite a long time. We're London College of Music exams, so we're closely linked to the London College of Music itself. We have quite a nice close link there. And before I just get on to talk a little bit more about our exams, I'm going to let you know that if you have any candidates who sit a grade 8 LCME piano exam who are interested in applying to the London College of Music, they will get an automatic offer based on their grade 8 results. They don't have to do a separate audition unless they really, really want to. So that's quite a nice direct link between us as an exam board and the conservatoire itself. So the new piano syllabus launched in May, and the two newest elements, which I think make us stand out perhaps from some of the other exam boards, is the popular piano list, which we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail in a moment, and keyboard harmony as an option against the sight reading. So you've got an option not to do sight reading and do keyboard harmony instead. So the popular piano list, it is not necessarily pop music. So I think a lot of people perhaps think that it is a pop piano list, and Karen's definitely agreeing that it is not a pop list. You may find a little bit of pop music in there. I know that there's some really lovely ABBA arrangements in there, which are a nice bit of fun, and some Queen and a few other bits and pieces. But it's really about popular pieces of music that we know pupils like to play. So you're going to find all sorts of things from Clair de Lune to Fur-Elise. Some of you might be sighing at the very thought of that, but we all know, and I've got one starting back next week who's already told me he really wants to do that as soon as he comes back. So out it will come. So it's really about empowering our students to engage with the music that they enjoy playing. I'm going to talk very briefly now about the two main exam formats that we have and how this popular piano list can be used in those two exams. So the first is, I suppose, what we would call a standard graded exam, a format that you'll all be very familiar with in terms of doing 3 pieces, doing some scales and arpeggios, doing some oral, and then sight reading, or now keyboard harmony as an option. So we have 3 lists that the pieces would normally come from, but we are allowing those to be up to 2 of those to be replaced from pieces from the popular piano list. So it really gives a huge amount of scope. Those of you that are familiar with us will also know that we have keyboard anthologies. So we've also got those to be able to dip into, and we have alternative repertoire as well. So the whole range of pieces, Karen is showing one of those keyboard anthologies, my handy assistant over there. So the actual collection of music that students will be able to choose from is really, really wide. So we're hoping that they don't feel at all constrained and they can absolutely play to their strengths. Now, the other format of exam that we have is the repertoire exam. The repertoire exam is 5 pieces. Any number of these pieces can be taken from the popular piano list. They also have the option of their 5th piece of being a complete free choice. So it can come from another exam board or it can come from somewhere else as long as it's of an appropriate standard. The other format of the repertoire exam is that they do 4 pieces and then they do a 5th option, which is a supporting test, or it can be the discussion element that we also include in our exams. So that's pretty much how the popular piano piece lists can be used. So as a quick recap, for the standard repertoire exams, they can replace up to 2 pieces of their 3 pieces from the popular list. If they're going to do the repertoire exam, it can be up to 5. So they've got lots and lots of scope there. And I almost forgot to say, I kind of touched on it. The discussion element is an element that is in our standard graded exam and can be an option in the repertoire. That's also just something a little bit different from the other boards. So I don't want to leave that bit out.
Lovely, Rachel. Thank you so much for giving us that quick overview, and lots of interesting options, I think, with LCME, and particularly like the introduction of keyboard harmony. Hooray! So I'm going to hand over now to Karen, who's going to tell us a little bit about the background of the popular piano lists. Karen, over to you.
Well, thank you everybody for being here. I'm really excited to talk about this list because basically lots of LCME teachers were surveyed as well, and the reps had input in, some favourite pieces. And so there was a real collaboration. And the aim of this syllabus is simply to give pieces of music that create real musical joy, coupled with well-written educational music that encourages progression. So it's twofold. The student will love it, but also I'm like this detective thinking, you know, how can this arrangement really push a student to the next level? And when myself and Sally showcase some of these pieces, we'll just be doing little excerpts, but we'll be talking about the teaching content in them. Why will they really help your student move forward? The other thing is that lots of these pieces have been used over many, many years by piano teachers to reignite motivation. So, Mission Impossible at grade 3, I know students absolutely love. But also, if we're trying to inspire our students to play really expressively and musically in the future, it's a great gateway to lots of our core classics as well. So, as I say, a great deal of thought has gone into the selection of these pieces with the teacher and the student at the heart of it.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Karen. And thank you for all the care that you have put into putting these together. And Karen and I like to get really quite excited together about different repertoire. We both like much the same repertoire, and it's really delightful to be doing this with you. I just wanted to say a word before we get on to the pieces themselves about the qualities that make an inspiring piece. What is it about a piece that really hooks our students in, whether they're young or whether they're adults? With the youngsters, I sort of have a criteria I use, which is, well, will it make them run to the piano when they get back from school? Yeah. Can they just not stop playing it? Does it make them go, oh, I've just got to get and do this? Because some pieces, like Mission Impossible, I have to say, they just want to play it, and they will dedicate the hours that are often required to playing pieces. You've only got to look at the YouTube hours that get spent with people learning from YouTube, pieces they really, really want to play. So what makes a piece like this? Well, it's quite hard to define. I've been trying, and let's see if I get somewhere. I think it's got to have something that really hooks them in. Yeah, really got to have something that is absolutely grabs them, and that might be it grabs their heart, that it's just got an emotional attachment for them. I think also a lot of music that has a real propulsive energy, that the rhythm just is absolutely all-consuming. Or it might be that it's a very well-known melody, like Fur Elise. It's out there, everybody. I can remember myself when I was probably about 11 going to our local music shop at the time and saying, I've heard there's a piece called For Elsie. Can you tell me? Could you give me the music for it? You know, and I can remember that really clearly. So these pieces just continue because they're great pieces. They're great pieces. Or maybe it's music that has a particular magical moment, and that you just go, I just will learn all this piece because it's all fantastic, but there is this very special moment that I, just feel is very emotional. I think the other thing about these pieces is that students need to be able to find a way into them. It needs to feel really accessible for them. Give them a piece of music that they can't hear what it should sound like and just looks black on the page. And to be honest, I don't like those pieces of music either. I've got to be able to hear what it's going to sound like. If it looks black on the page, I've got to have some sort of sense of that music. So always think about that if it is quite dense on the page, is it a piece they know? Because you'll be amazed, if they know it already, they will usually find their way around the various hurdles that those black notes actually present them with. So I think, it's got to be accessible. And finally, I think it's really got to capture their imagination. and their sensitive musical, engage them as sensitive musicians as well. And, you know, some pieces do all those things I've been talking about. Some pieces have one or two of them, but the syllabus we're about to show you, we think, actually does capture a lot of the pieces do have one or more of those elements to it. Karen, do you want to add anything on to that before we go into playing?
Yeah, just to remember that even though we might be fed up of hearing certain pieces, it's the first time our students have ever got to play them. And so it's a very important thing to remember, is that, you know, I've been working in secondary schools, doing some classroom teaching, and last autumn I was teaching for release to year 8. They absolutely loved it. So these pieces do stand the test of time. They absolutely do.
Yep, lovely. So we're going to go into grade 1. We're already running a little bit behind time, but that's fine. And I'm going to hand over to Karen. She's going to play 4 of the pieces from grade 1, and then I'm going to play another 4. I'm just going to... Okay, Karen, over to you. And I think if Rachel and I both mute ourselves, but I'm also going to say I am going to share with you the Popular Piano Syllabus in the chat, which you can download, and we will reprise at the end the pieces that we've played. So don't worry if you miss exactly what it is. So here we go. Over to Karen.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with a piece that I think everybody will recognise. This little piece is from this collection here, Chord Time Piano Popular, and there's also some other lovely pieces in there as well, like Star Wars and the Flintstones, etc. So I'm just playing a little bit for you. I think we've all got that now as being Do Re Mi from The Sound of Music. Why this particular arrangement? Well, we've got the combination of articulation, these lovely slurs, and, you know, the use of staccato. And the bit that I like as well is when you get onto the second page, there's some very easy thumb under work. So we've got the thumb under there, and then the next sequence, and then the next one. What a lovely little skill for a student at grade 1 to move out of hand position. There's also lots of triad shapes in there. It's very pattern rich. I've got 2 students at the moment doing this for their grade 1, and they really love it. So there's Do Re Mi. Next, we're going to talk about Minnie Mouse Hits Town, and I've got to tell you about the Piano for Fun collection by Pam Wedgwood. It's a fabulous compilation of lots of Pam's work from Faber Music. And I've picked here Minnie Mouse Hits Town. Some of you will know this probably from previous grade 1 exams, and I remember it because every student that's done it's absolutely loved it. It's in G minor. Great at this level for getting a student to sort of read in 2 flats rather than just 1 or none at all. So let's have a quick listen. Now, again, we've got some skills we're working on. We've got tied notes. It isn't swung, even though it's jazzy, it needs to be straight quavers. We've got that lovely contrasted dynamics. We've got the accents coming in. And again, we've got the moving into the lower notes. So the students can easily move to the lower part of the piano where they're not going to have as much experience reading those notes. So it's got lots packed in there, as Minnie Mouse Hits Town by Pam Wedgwood, and I'm sure will be extremely popular. Now, we have actually included some tutor series, and Sally is going to be playing something from Piano Time. This particular one is from Get Set Piano, and I've worked with Heather quite extensively, obviously, and this is Penny Blue by Heather Hammond in Get Set 2. So the idea is your student might already have this book. A number of the pieces are all in one book, so we've thought about that as well, to make things sort of economically good for students and also for teachers, so that you're likely to have some of these materials already. So Penny Blue, written actually linked with the postage stamp. But it was originally to be written in a minimalistic style that was very easy to play. So can be great for sort of particularly teenage and even adult players. So let's have a listen. Now, dotted rhythms. This piece has got that dotted rhythm in there. It's also moving up into some higher registered notes. And also at the end, we've got a ledger line in there. And that lovely jazzy harmony with a little pause, mark fermata in there. And in addition, it's a great workout for pedalling. So again, lots of lovely teaching content in there. And finally, David Blackwell is just amazing at arrangements. And we have one from David here in Faber's The Foundation Pianist Book 1. And it's from the Magic Flute. And in this song, the bird catcher plays his magic bells on the glockenspiel to charm and escape from the evil, the evil character in the opera and his slaves. So here we have That Sounds So Lovely. It is written with both hands in the treble clef. Again, we've got quite a lot of ledger lines in there, and we've got a combination of different articulations as well. So something very different, but it's from the Magic Flute. Again, lots in there to really move our student forward in their piano playing journey. And I don't know about you as teachers, I know many of my colleagues do, and I myself try to make sure that when you're putting together a program, you're thinking, okay, what does my student really need? What is the content of this piece that's really going to develop some skills in their playing? Okay, so that's my 4, Sally.
Wonderful, and I love that final point you made about, you know, skill development at this age. At this stage, it's absolutely crucial, isn't it, Karen? And I did love the piece by Heather. I thought that was super, and that's a new one to me, so I'll have to go off and explore that. So on to my 4, and Karen mentioned Piano Time and tutor books, so this is the new edition of Piano Time, and we've got in here the Jamaican rumba. Some of you might know this as a wonderful duet version. Development, you know, I think what this one has got is that dotted rhythm again, and glad you got into the dotted rhythms, Karen, with yours. And it starts off with this, of course, and then you've got the syncopation, synco-pa-ta-ta, synco-pa-ta-ta, coming all the way through. So rhythmically, there's a lot going on here, and that is definitely a skill that you would need to work on, probably. Some words might be useful. In fact, in the book, they suggest the words fried bananas. Fried bananas, fried bananas. Oh, I can just imagine you all doing the rumba as you go around the room singing fried bananas. And you might actually create some more words to help it go with the swing. It's these little things that you can do that will really help to bring a piece to life. I haven't got very far with my words, but why won't you let me go ahead and mash my bananas, mash my bananas, mash them. Why won't you let me go ahead and mash my bananas, mash my bananas up? I don't know. Something like that anyhow. So a lovely piece, G major, arranged by Pauline Hall, and a lot of fun. And I think it has that little rhythmic drive that I talked about earlier as being one of the motivating factors. And then I'm going to go for something different, which is Bartok. No, as far as I'm concerned, no piano syllabus is complete without some work by the marvellous Bela Bartok. Bartok really knew what he was on about with writing music for the piano, and this is probably one of his most well-known earlier pieces. And it's Quasi Adagio, and it's from 4 Children, Volume 1. And it just has such quiet, calm air, and you can really encourage expressive playing, getting your students to shape, feeling that direction of each phrase. Yeah. And that is quite a skill, actually, just learning to do that. Doesn't just happen often. You often have to show them how to build from one note, so to the quieter note, and then you build through to there. And it's so straightforward, that little bit. They can really get it into doing that. I've had many students do this and they really love it. They do tend to come a cropper though, don't they? Towards the end with the left hand. All of a sudden there's more needed. They need to move around the piano. So my suggestion there would be to actually extract that left hand, write it out completely separately and give them that to just practice for a week. You know, don't let them worry about anything else that's going on top. If you just leave it on the page, a lot of younger children have problems forgetting about what's on the top. Just get them to concentrate on that bottom part. Wonderful piece. Quasi Adagio by Bella Bartok. And then from a piece that is very familiar to me to a piece that was very new to me. And this is from the Joy of Graded Piano. This is grade 1, which is edited by Andrew Eales. And this particular piece is called Snowflakes by Ben Andrew. And if you don't know this, then I really, really suggest that you go and have a play of it. It starts with just a very simple quaver movement and the pedal down. Snowflakes, remember. And it has that magical shimmer that an acoustic piano anyhow can really create. I love that bottom C there. And then more dotted crotchets and quavers, and I think this particular piece is a really good piece for building that skill of how they work. It's just delightful. It's so charming and expressive. Yeah, as I say, really good piece for the dotted crotchet and quaver, and what makes it good is that it's a predictable dotted crotchet and quaver rhythm followed by 2 quavers. In other words, it comes in the same place of the bar. So you've got to be careful of pieces where you get a dotted crotchet and quaver in one place, and then it in beats 1 and 2, and then later in the piece it comes in beat 2 and 3 or something like that. At this level, that's too unpredictable. They want it to be the same so that they can absolutely consolidate that learning. Yeah, delightful piece. Thank you for that one, Karen. And then the last piece, again, is a really well-known one, slightly different titles. This is a William Gillick, absolute one of the angels of piano teachers, I think. This is from Graded Gillick, grades 1 to 2. And this is called Swinging Beat. This is the one with the energy again. It has that, oh, yes, I've had many students who literally will run home from school and parents say, they haven't stopped playing it all week. Yeah, of course, you all recognise that. Just be careful at the end, because it's the last 4 bars where counting is necessary, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and that last one, actually, that could almost be the first thing you learn. Start with the chord. Let them be able to run across the room. Can they run in from school and just go like that without reference to another piece, or without the rest of the piece? And yeah, they'll just really, really love that one. So that's our grade 1 selections. As I say, we'll be going through all of them again at the very end of the webinar if you missed exactly what they were. So now I'm going to hand back over to Karen, who's going to take us into grade 2.
Right, thank you, Sally, and thank you for all of that advice on teaching, because we do need. I know I'm thinking when you're saying that, I have lots of students that love the last piece that you did, and starting with that end chord is such a great idea. So thank you for sharing that, Sally. Now we're moving on to grade 2, and the first piece, we've got another one by Heather Hammond here called Black Cat Swing, from the Faber Intermediate Piano Trainer series, intermediate pianist. And Black Cat Swing is obviously, the clue is in the name. It's about getting our students to be able to play a swung rhythm. And in this particular piece, there's no dynamics marked in. So you can, as the teacher, work with your student becoming like a music editor. And I always find this is an extremely useful thing for our students to do, because if they themselves have put in the dynamics, they actually remember to do them better. Another thing that I do, particularly with neurodivergent students, and I have a number, is sometimes I'll get them to use some pencil crayons and have some colour to actually represent dynamics, and they pick the colour that is most, suitable for them. So let's have a listen. Now, the triplet. The triplet is tricky at grade 2 level. So how are you going to get your student to be able to play that triplet? I actually think it's very important that you do a lot of oral work with this kind of music. Can they mark the 4 beats, but then move to marking 2 beats? Are you going to use words again, like the nice cup of tea? Can they just instinctively, if you play triplets, can they recognize the difference? So that is Black Cat Swing by Heather Hammond. Now, there's another 2 pieces from grade 2 in this book. And as I say, what we have done is try to also make it a little easier by having some pieces from the same book. So what have we got here? Now, absolute must is Schumann's Album for the Young. I use it in my teaching all the time. We've got the Soldiers' March here, which now we've got dotted quaver, semi-quaver rhythms in. And we've got the use of the quaver in there that gives a feeling of staccato, even though it's not written in there. I'm going to play a little bit. All of you know this, but it's just such a fantastic little piece. So we've got, it's very light. It's brilliant for pulse work. So you might actually play it to your students and get them to march around the room and to feel that feeling of 2 in a bar. Now, I'm motoring on, Sally, because I'm looking at the time. Heine Hein. This piece is from a Maori folk song about written by a New Zealand princess, and the words are actually in the book. Again, developing pedalling and also chord shapes. And also bringing the melody into the left hand. Useful tool to actually work on balance of melody and accompaniment. So lots of hand separate practice, what common patterns are in the piece, and also getting, there's a lovely recording of Hayley Westerner singing this piece of music, get the students to listen to a performance of the song Heine Hein. And finally, well, we couldn't do a syllabus without including this one. Fabulous set of arrangements by Carol Matz, famous and fun pop, this time Alfred, and it creating that mysterious sound. There's pedal in there too, so. I've played just those few bars and you know exactly what it is. Tricky things in here, we've got some ties. And the last chord, this is one where you might start with the hardest thing first, like Sally suggested. We're moving into the both in the treble clef, and you've got an arpeggiated chord. And that lovely bottom E at the end. So those are my 4 grade 2, Sally.
Thank you very much there, Karen. And yeah, always good to have a bit of James Bond, doesn't it, everywhere? So continuing with grade 2 then, Einaudi. Einaudi is where I'm going first, and this is from the graded pieces for piano arrangements, and this is the prep to grade 2. I think it's a different edition in the one that is in the syllabus, but it's the same piece. And I love these straightforward arrangements of Einaudi. I think they really do work. And this one is Andare, and you're going to have to, rhythmically, this is really quite tricky, I think. So your grade 2 student is going to have to deal with dotted crotchets and quavers and syncopation, but also semiquavers. And of course, semiquavers are probably quite new still. And it's even got an anacrusis, 3 anacrusis as semiquavers as well. So there are 3 sections to this. The first section, you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So you've got to be getting your student to count those quavers is the easiest way of doing that, and it that will definitely help them. You don't want to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and count the quavers. And then as we go on, we get to introduce this, just popped into my head, is you could introduce it with some musicianship kind of work. Can they pick out that bass line as you play and sing it back to you? Because it's really and then it repeats, so nice and straightforward. And then can they then go and play it? Can they count how many times they hear this pattern? Yeah. This is all what I would call pre-framing. It's pre-framing the music. So even if they don't know this piece, actually you're helping them to know how it sounds. So when they look at the page and it is a bit black, they will understand how that is going to sound before they've even played a note. Okay. What we don't want them to do is struggle going down. We want them to be able to approach it with ease. So a really, really lovely choice for a grade 2 student. And then I'm going to go on to Butterfly Mountain, and this is by Victoria Proudler. And I know her music has become very popular. So this is in her grades 2 to 3 book, Butterfly Mountain. And what this is about is partly phrasing, mostly phrasing. This is in F major, so that by now should be a fairly familiar key at grade 2. And actually, there's not too much here that's complicated. So you can really focus on developing a singing style, playing legato shaping those phrases. Yeah, gorgeous little simple melody. Left hand has to have 2 notes, but love the way she does that. She plays the first note, hold it for a semi-breve, and a dotted minim comes in on the top. And in the right hand you can really explore, where is the top of the mountain? Where is the top of the mountain? Is it there? Or is it there? Or is it? Did you spot it that time? I'll leave you to think about that. So that is Butterfly Mountain by Victoria Proudler. And now, the next one. We cannot have a list, like we can't have a list without Bach. Schumann, absolutely core. We can't have a list without, I said Bach, didn't I? Bartok, I meant. I was giving the game away. We can't have a list without Bach. I think you'll know this one. For those of you that have maybe done the dance class given by Lucinda Mackworth-Young at the piano teacher's course, you'll realise that it's a minuet and therefore it has to be in phrases of 6, and it's a really lovely piece to get your students stepping to around the room before you sit down and play it again. They sit down and play, because we want them to feel that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it gives it a completely different feel to when you do it in 3 and a bar. It is Bach, so they do need to be good readers, okay, because both hands have some independence of movement going on here. But again, it's a very well-known piece and a lot of children and adults will want to learn it. But do take that opportunity to explore it from a movement point of view as well, to get that real flow of the minuet. From Bach to Adele. And here we have got an arrangement, a really nice arrangement, I think, of Someone Like You. And this is from Grade Buster's Grade 2 piano, which I think has got some really fine arrangements in it. Actually, I've had people some of my students do several of these. And although the arrangements are quite hard, quite challenging, this one's got 4 pages. Because they're all well known to the students, they will generally overcome the challenges that you've got here. So, you know, as Someone Like You, you've got a pedalling, you've got legato pedalling, you've got to keep it moving. Etc. So as I say, it is 4 pages long, so stamina to go on and learn it. The middle section, sort of around bar 30, where are I, 33, we need to, this is where we get repeated notes, and I really suggest that you actually get the words to go with this, because that makes sense of the repeated notes. But like so many of these pieces, you can teach it through musicianship, you can use the chord sequence and encourage your students to go and use it to create their own composition, or just to doodle around at the piano a little bit of improvisation. So that is the last of my grade 2, and I'm going to hand back to Karen, who is going to take us through her grade 3 choices. Karen.
I certainly am, but I'm going to do an honourable mention to another grade 2 piece just before I move on, which is Whistle Down the Wind from Piano Collections. Now, Chris, is it who did the arrangements in Grade Buster? Well, Alan Bullard, again, is a wonderful arranger. So in this, from grade 2, just have a time, listen to this. Absolutely beautiful arrangement. Grade 2, Piano Works Collection 1, Whistle Down the Wind, and I think that it is loved by many students who meet it. Right, grade 3. Now, this is one of my most ever taught pieces, actually, Sally, and I was absolutely thrilled to see that Clocks by Coldplay had this amazing workout for the right hand in all of these different positions. So we're in D major, our first inversion chord, and then we go to A minor to a second inversion chord. We play that again. And then basically an E minor chord. So great for developing that finger work. Takes quite a bit of coordination there, because it's almost like your rumba rhythm, with sort of accenting on those notes. Again, the words are helpful when you bring the melody in. And we've got some voicing in there. We've got the sustained E and F sharp as well. So Clocks, excellent little piece at grade 3. Then this is a fabulous collection from Faber, movie soundtracks, The Piano Player. There's a few in here on the list, but I really love this one by Carl Davis, who I think left us in 2025. What a wonderful composer. Ethel and Ernest. Absolutely beautiful little piece there. It gets a bit more complicated here. Great for bringing out a cantabile melody, pedaling, range of dynamics, dotted rhythms, voicing. It's all in there. And then finally, my final piece has got to be Mission Impossible. So the hands, the left hand is playing an octave lower. So there's quite a bit of keyboard geography in this piece, because students are playing sort of, it's right down here, but it's right up here as well. So, you know, there's quite a big range on there, and you've got that wonderful syncopation, articulation. And then they've got to get up, haven't they? They've got to get up there, even. So. Not easy. So packed with teaching content, syncopation, accents, keyboard geography, and great chords at the end as well. Okay, Sally, over to you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Yes, Mission Impossible there. We love that one. I love that one, and I think kids particularly like playing that one with all that energy. So we're on to the last 3 pieces, and this is grade 3. And I'm going to start with another absolutely classic composer, Tchaikovsky. And from Tchaikovsky's album for the young, we have got The Sick Doll. So this one is in 3/8, and your student has got to get that balance all the way through between what the bass line is doing, what the accompaniment does there, and then what the top line is doing. And it's difficult sometimes with this piece to know exactly, well, is there a melody? Actually, there is, I think, a little melody that weaves its way through, but it's very simple, very straightforward. And sometimes the hands change over, so on the second line you get the right hand with the minims, and then the little accompaniment note, and then the bass note down here. So it's just such a lovely, plaintive, mournful kind of piece. And I did notice in my book when I was looking at this, you know, it's followed by the doll's funeral. Not that that's in the book, but you know, after the sick doll, clearly the doll doesn't recover. Anyhow, onwards we go to the next piece, and again, this is a very, very well-known piece. And I'm just going to play you a little bit. I could have just played the left hand, couldn't I? And of course, it's an arrangement of Pachelbel's Canon. And this is from, I think, Piano Adventures, that's right, level 3B from the lesson book. And it's a fantastic introduction, development of an understanding of harmony, because harmony for pianists is so vital that we help our students to understand the harmonic progression. And you know, we can just play, learn it coming down like this first. And I know I've got students who do a similar version at level 4 and just absolutely adore it. And I think the same absolutely goes for this. As it goes on, the variation develops. So yeah, and it as well as the harmonic underpinning of that, it's good, so good for rhythmic consolidation. Nothing new in this, but they've got to really have their wits about them to keep that pulse the same all the way through. So Pachelbel's Canon from Piano Adventures level 3B. And the last piece we're going to be doing in today's webinar is by the wonderful June Armstrong. So when I was talking to her about the fact we're going to play this piece, she said she heard a youngster play this particular piece not very long ago wearing a frilly dress. So I'm sorry, June, I haven't gone down the frilly dress route here. But this is Azure Blue. It's from her book, Razzmatazz, Jazz Moods for Piano. Sorry. And so on and so forth. It's really groovy, quite laid back, it does say leisurely. And rhythmically, they've really got to work at the precision of this. It's got lots of lovely 7th chords, really good to introduce them to that unique sound world of those sevenths. Woo, yeah. Very, very lovely piece, and it's got swan quavers and it's got triplets in there. But again, it's a piece they're going to feel probably rather than count too much, I hasten to say. So that is the final piece, Azure Blue by June Armstrong. And I think, Karen, it is a very, very splendid set of pieces that you and the rest of the LCME team have assembled, and many congratulations to you. I'd love to know from people what their favourite was from all of those, and whether there's some that they've never heard of. Do share in the comments. You've all been very quiet. While I just go through, unless you got... did you want to say something, Karen, while I get ready with the slides?
Yeah, just to say to teachers, really, this syllabus came from feedback from you. We have lots of discussions with teachers, don't we, Sally? And they're so generous with what they share. And the fact that, I knew that the Piano Adventures arrangement of Pachelbel was a particular favourite. And it is about us sort of working together to keep these students playing, progressing, and having the piano as a lifelong friend. And if we can give them repertoire that they love, they're much more likely to do that, aren't they, Sally?
Absolutely. Times are changing with piano, I do think, and it's good to see LCME are moving with the times and trying to help us as teachers keep our students engaged. So just to give you a quick rundown of the pieces that we've been playing today. Here are the grade 1 pieces: Do Re Mi, Snowflakes, Minnie Mouse Hits Town, Jamaican Rumba, Penny Blue, Swinging Beat, That Sounds Lovely from the Magic Flute, and Quasi Adagio by Bartok. And then we went on to grade 2 and we had the Black Cat Swing by Heather Hammond, Butterfly Mountain, Hine e Hine, and Minuet in G, James Bond theme, Someone Like You, The Soldier's March, and I played Andare, didn't I? Well, there we go, a different piece. I should have checked that. And then Clocks by Coldplay, Azure Blue by June Armstrong, Ethel and Ernest, Pachelbel's Canon, Mission Impossible, and The Sick Doll by Tchaikovsky. And all those pieces can be found on the syllabus list, which I've shared with you earlier, along with lots of other pieces, I have to say, as well. So, thank you all so much for coming. I think, Rachel, have you got anything?
Just a couple of people have asked a very similar question, and that's, are all these pieces published in one book? No, they're not. So for the kind of the standard grade exam lists are obviously in an exam book, which is available to purchase as a hard copy book or as a digital download. All these popular piano pieces come from many, many, many publications. We could never have published them all into one book. But if you go to the LCME website and go to the piano syllabus section and look at these pieces, there is a hyperlink next to every single one of them, which will take you directly to the book that they come from. So the only other thing that I do want to say is that where there are arrangements, you must use the edition, the copy that is stated in the syllabus, because we all know there are many arrangements of Star Wars, for example, right from grade 1 up to a sort of grade 5 or above. So you don't want to end up with the wrong one. Where it's an original piece, like a piece of Bartok, for example, that can come from any sort of standard edition. So you might find that you already have that in a collection or in a book of Bartok, and that'll be completely fine. You can use that. So original compositions can come from sort of any recognized copy, decent copy, but where they are arrangements, you must use the ones that are specified in the syllabus. So I hope that clarifies that.
And do check as well, because there are a number of pieces from one book, for instance.
Yeah.
And I know, like the intermediate pianist has got the Schumann in it as well as the other two pieces. I know, Sally, when we're doing the grade 5 talk tomorrow, we've got pieces that are actually in the Joy of grade 5. There's several in the same book. So we have thought about that. So definitely look down and look at what several pieces are from the same book too, because they're very contrasting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really a good point to have actually tried to get pieces from the same books, because cost really does matter these days. Quite often you can also buy a lot of music these days as a digital download. That's another thought. You know, Stu Armstrong's music, for example. Yes, you can buy the book, and you can get a studio license, which allows you to use it with all your students, or you can just buy the book as a standard ebook, as a standalone single user. So there are a variety of options around, I think. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to Karen and to Rachel for joining me today as we gallop our way through grades 1 to 3. We'll be back tomorrow. Yes. Karen, did you want to say something?
Oh, just to say, you know, thank you so much to everybody that has come. And most of all, I really hope your students love the music and you really enjoy teaching it, because that is what it's about.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we hope we'll see you again tomorrow at 1 o'clock, where we'll be diving into grades 4 to 6. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope you've enjoyed that. We certainly have. Bye-bye.
Bye.